Yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't lose it all if I fall apart. I just hit up God with my calling card.
Perfect. I can start here, I guess. My name's Todd Winder. I'm age 28. I'm currently living in Frederikshavn, Denmark. I'm from Canada. Met Betty at school, and I'm a professional hockey player, and that's why I'm living over here in Denmark.
My name's Curtis Rimpey. I am age 26. I live in the Little Smoke of London, Ontario. Working for Western doing finance. Excited to be here.
I'm Dan, also living in London, Ontario, also age 26. And I am a medical student at Western, and I met Betty in undergrad as well.
Yeah, I think, I say yes to both, being someone who is single, and it can have the effect that, I have a lot more time to do things that I want to do and things that maybe I could take on that married or dating people might not be able to. And I'm thankful to God for that. On the other side, it can also be hard because, there's not that person that you're immediately involved with. There's other people I'm involved with, but someone who I can lean on and go to as like a trusted confidant in my life. I think it's definitely a blessing, and I'm encouraged when I see single men or women doing great things for God, and I think it also provides an opportunity to the problems you have in singleness won't just be solved by marriage or dating. These are things that you have to work through anyway. But I think it's also a great time to continue to develop as a person, continue to grow in love for God as well.
Betty, I think, how, and also Curtis, I think it really depends on how you use your single season of singleness. I think if you use it as a way to really kind of find out who you are in yourself and what you can bring to a relationship and what you want in a future partner and future, for us guys and a future wife, then I think it makes it a time that it's a blessing because it can be a productive means of using that singleness. But I think it could also be a curse, and I know I've had this in my life where when I'm single, it's all of a sudden like, okay, now I need to look for that person, and you kind of get so focused on the chase and the pursuit of finding that right person that you sometimes can forget to work on yourself and to be able to, I know that sounds cliche, but you forget to really put in that work in order to make yourself ready and to make yourself that person that you want to be in a relationship as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you both said some great things there.
I'd also say, like you were talking about the world and how, their ways have kind of seeped into our ways a little bit. And it's, I don't know, just as you were saying that, I was thinking about how the world doesn't like singleness, but they also don't like marriage. Maybe we'll get to this later, but
yeah,
they kind of just want to be in this ecstasy kind of place where they are fulfilled and getting what they want, even if it means one night stands or hopping in and out of relationships and dealing with the hard repercussions of that, unfortunately. Right. dating is a hard. It's a very hard thing, right? Like, no pun intended, but it requires a lot of vulnerability, and love, and which will be even more in marriage, right?
I really like the point, Betty, that you just made, because I feel like, and you guys have all touched on this, like singleness is a season that it's what you allow God to make it of it for you, in the sense that, like, in a relationship, you really don't have that much choice in terms of accountability. Like, the other person will make you accountable. Like, just by nature, like, just by being together, you're going to be exposed to them, and they will see lots of things in you that, they might not, that are not godly, that they will gently lead you back in a way that you can, repent and be sanctified. But when you're single, it is in a way a blessing, but also a curse, because, like, you have to, if you don't yourself seek that, you're just gonna be like, you have like a blind spot in a sense, right? Like, you can just let your faith become quite shallow, and then you're not really letting God work in your life. But then on the flip side, if you, like, single yourself, like, if you want to grow closer to God, like, you can allow God to bring more accountability into your life, by growing deeper with your relationship with Him. So I think in that sense, like, it allows you to become sanctified and really let Christ work in your life in a much more personal sense, because, like, it is you seeking that, but you have to seek that, which is really hard. So I think this is a process that's definitely facilitated within relationships, and you see people, like people can really change for the better when they're with someone else, and I think that is something that it can be like a blessing and a curse from, like, singleness, as well.
Yeah, I think I'll answer the second part. I kind of alluded to the first part of the question previously, but I think one of the, like, something I've been learning from God recently is, like, to go deeper into friendships. Like, there's many godly brothers and sisters around me who, like, that can encourage me in my faith, and I don't need to necessarily be attracted to them or their sisters in Christ, or need to pursue a relationship with them, but still have, like, meaningful friendships and relationships with those who are both in, like, a similar life stage than me, single or not, like, married or dating or whatever. So I don't know, I think that's really beneficial, and because that, like, in the end, yes, like, the Bible does definitely outline things for marriage as well, but I think we're all have some sense of accountability to each other, for each other, one another on, regardless of our marital status. It's not some problem to be fixed all the time. It can be where God has placed a purpose. So
I think for me, the biggest challenge right now is just a comparison, like, not looking towards other people's journeys and other people's lives with, like, wanting that, because, like, God has a specific plan for each and every person, and I think for the most part, I'm usually fine. Like Curtis said, like, because of this period of my life, I've been able to really invest in His kingdom, invest in relationships, and even, like, I guess in a way serve and be a witness to people outside of the church too, just because I have more time, right? So I've been able to really help people, like, say, like, just random people who are just, like, applying to medical school, like friends of mine, like people who are, like, really don't have anyone. So I guess to showcase, I guess that. Okay, I forgot this word in English. Disponibility. I don't know if this is an English word or not. But disposability. I don't know. Availability, I guess, would be the closest thing. So, but at the same time, like, I think, like, when you come, when you come home alone, like, and you see other people go home together, that is like the periods where I think it hits the hardest. I think to be like, well, it's like tough. That for me is the hardest part, the biggest challenge. And then just recognizing though that like God's plans are perfect for like everyone. But if I wanted to, I mean, we do have free will. And like there have been times where like I've met girls and it's like, while we in the superficial level, we do really get along really well. But the faith component is just not there. So then if I really wanted to, I could make this work for myself. But this wouldn't be what God wants for me in my life. So then just respecting his timeline, and I think the comparisons to me is like the biggest challenge right now.
I'd also add to what you guys have just said, that like kind of what Dan was talking about, you know, finding someone that actually like suits you and that's like would be a suitable wife or husband if you're a girl. And yeah, I think like the loneliness aspect is big, but it's also like, man, you can still be lonely in marriage, and it might like, and it can be worse. And so there's also that aspect where it's like, I don't just want to, you know, as Dan was saying, just, oh yeah, this person's kind of pretty but doesn't really have faith or whatever, and you know, I'm ending up, you know, we get married and now I'm actually feel kind of like a silo on my own. Can't be like true to who I am and true to what God is trying to make me to be. So I'll say that like really important in singleness as well, like, you know, kind of thinking through what you would want in someone, and also, yeah, making sure that you're that type of person.
I think similar to singleness is a different season of your life where it requires you to put some kind of intentionality within certain skills. I mean, like, does this sound very like, I don't know, jargony, but it's just the way that I'm coming from, like with like school. But I guess it would be like in the sense that like if you navigate dating with the right heart, not that like it will be easy, but you will like bypass certain problems that you just wouldn't you wouldn't encounter. Say for example, like what I just said before, like go into a relationship just because I'm lonely and I'm just disregarding, you know, a lot of principles that the Lord has laid out for us in the Bible, or to me with personal convictions. If I go into this, it's going to be awful. It's going to be a terrible time. Like maybe initially it'll be great, but then like right away, you know, difficult problems will come up that are just like elective problems. Like it's just problems that I am exposing myself to willingly and unnecessarily. So I think it can be, but in the sense though, like I think because if you want to truly get to know someone in a romantic way, it is difficult in the sense that you will have to be vulnerable if you want to make it work. Like you will have to be honest with yourself, like your relationship with God, and you are exposing that to someone else, which is never easy. And not that this should be like unique to romantic relationships. Like we should, you know, be more open with friends, with family, but that is like there is more of a choice with that. But like when you are dating someone, that shouldn't be a choice. You know what I mean? I mean, some people choose not to disclose certain things, but then that just leads to more difficulties later on down the road, like I was saying too. So I think it's like a mixture of both, but it's just a different challenges. I wouldn't say dating per se is harder than singleness. It's just different challenges, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm Connor. I live in Denmark. I'm also intrepid too now, which is great. And I'm a financial accountant, so that's a little bit about me. But yeah, I think what you guys have brought up have been some really good discussions already. And I think what Dan mentioned about the challenges in dating is it dating difficult, or do we make it too difficult? And I think what Dan has said about exposing yourself to that kind of risk is a real challenge, I think. And I think a lot of us aren't used to the reality of being honest with someone else about where we're at, or exposing so much of our life to that person. And I think the whole that can make it seem really scary. And I think in dating also, it's very uncertain, because in reality you could break up with whoever your partner is at that time at any point. It could be 1 hour from now, or tomorrow, or 10 days, or it could go to marriage. But there's all this uncertainty to it, which makes it a real difficulty, and probably one of the biggest challenges for me specifically. And then I think on this other side of, do we make it more difficult as well? I think there's two sides where we can add too much pressure, and then there's also a lot of people who are just so flippant with dating that they end up hurting other people's feelings and actually end up hurting themselves. So I think those are just two kind of guardrails to look at, where we prayerfully consider why we're going into dating. We make a decision about why we're dating someone. We dialogue with that person. We are honest with that person, depending on the range of where we are in the dating relationship. But also just making sure that we're just not dating somebody and then leaving right after, or we're so in our head that we can't even begin a relationship with someone. I think I would answer yes to both of it. I think we make it difficult, but I do think it is difficult.
Something that I think that you touched on is just like now how people are really guarded. And I think there is a principle that like you should guard your hearts, but like that doesn't mean you're not going to experience hardships and like brokenheartedness. And I think the approach that people are taking nowadays, it's like one that they want to exclude difficulty and heartbreak from their lives. And it's not something that like God ever called us to do. And I think it does in a way demonstrate that you don't think that God can work through those things with you. So you're kind of taking that upon yourself, and in a way you are like excluding natural emotions that we have and natural experiences that they'll make us who we are, that allows us to experience creation for what it is, and even get closer to God too. So I think that is something that is quite problematic, actually, like the approach that people are trying to censor difficult conversations, difficult experiences in their lives. And I think it does in a way point back to, I guess, a lack of trust and faithfulness in seeing what the Lord can truly do in someone's life.
I think it comes a bit out of, at least when I think about that, and it's something I've had to work through a lot, vulnerability and being hurt in past relationships or friendships. And I think understanding that, like, the same kind of grace that you would expect other people to show to you, and that you should also extend to other people. And you can call people on that as well. Be like, to your partner, somebody you're dating, be like, hey, like, I'm not perfect. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm seeking God and asking Him to change me and make me more like Him. And yeah, I think it also, in something for me recently, is just asking God to be like, to have a heart that is trusting and vulnerable, even in the spite of hurt, like in the midst of being hurt, which my heart will continue to be hurt in this earth, through words or relationships or many other things. I think having, like, being willing to give my heart in that way, not just so I'm consistently leading up to being broken, but just being vulnerable with people, even though it might cost me something. I don't know, that's something I've been kind of thinking through recently, and I don't know if that necessarily answers the question, but
fire with this one. Um, without kind of saying the cliches, I think for me, I try to kind of snuff out even before dating someone is what kind of, I want kids in the future, and part of me is wondering what kind of mom they would be, right? So I'm kind of looking for signs in their behavior, in their patterns, of how they live their life and how they view others, how they view themselves, and how they would be a mom and a wife, and to future children. And I think for me, you try to kind of, you also find that out in while you're dating. But I think, there's always a kind of a little bit of a period before you're dating where you're trying to get to know someone to see if it's worth something that you want to pursue. I think in that time, you can kind of get a good understanding if someone wants to be a mom and if they want to kind of live that life, or if they want to go another way. And so I think before dating someone, that's always something I try to figure out is, would they want to be a mom, and would they be excited to be a mom, and is that important to them, or do they have other things that are more important, like career or work or something else, right? So for me, that would be one. When you just talk about finding one thing besides just saying the cliches, I think that would be one for me.
What are some of the cliches?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, some for us Christian men, I would say, looking for someone that shares the same faith, someone that's nice, kind, just kind of those ones that maybe first pop into your mind. I'm just trying to go a little bit deeper for maybe the viewers and the listeners on something just beyond kind of the faith component too, but also the practicality of dating and to a potential marriage as well.
Yeah, I think what Todd has said was really good. I think before getting into a relationship, it's important to take time to even get to know the person, or try to get to know the person in good context. I know that's always not the case, but it's worth a try. I think for me, some important things, and I'd put them under kind of a big umbrella, or kind of two big umbrellas, is one that I've mostly just learned through experience, through errors on either side. But I think to say that I think as men we're more visual than women. Personally, just knowing different women in my life, they're more of a heart people, that they look at a guy's heart. That's not to say attractiveness isn't a part, but anyways, my point is that I think, in a quick quote, attractiveness is enough to lead you into a relationship, but it's not enough to keep you in a relationship. So I think those 2 points are important to emphasize, in that attractiveness is important, but it's not everything. Like a person with a good character and a good faith and all these different aspects that we've already talked about, that Todd has already talked about, are what will keep you in the relationship. So I think that's one umbrella, and then the other one is just beauty in general. And that, I know in our modern world we use beauty as very single-minded, as outward appearance, but I think if we think of it holistically, we can look at it as, does this person display beauty in their relationship with friends, in their relationship with their family, in the way that they communicate to other people, and yes, their outward appearance, in their relationship with God, in their in their characteristics. So I think those two things are summarized of years of experience in dating, but also just talking with other people. So
I think one of the things that came to mind when you were saying that, Betty, was just in many aspects of our life, we have to apply wisdom, things that maybe God has not necessarily left unclear, but things that maybe aren't, as clear as water. And so we need to ask God for wisdom in that, and also, we might see some some principles in what the end goal might be, what marriage might be. Paul has a lot to talk about that, and that can be a good place for sure. And I don't know. I think having that wisdom and being able to walk into places of dating somebody can almost give us a sense of freedom in both God's commands and knowing that He continues to dwell in us, shape us. Yeah, I forgot the same part, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think I'll touch on it too. I think it's a great question to ask because, I think when you read the Bible, the dating culture or the lack thereof maybe in the Bible is completely different than what it is today. And I think today now you see longer dating periods. I mean, especially what culture you live in. And I know for Connor and I living across the world, and in different kind of cultures than what we grew up in, you see some different things, and you see people that maybe date for 10-20 years before they even get married, right? Because it's not a big it's not something that's important to them or something that they feel they need to do, and they have other life goals ahead that are more important, which as Christians maybe isn't kind of how we would do things. So you see some things and you try to understand it and kind of test that against the Bible. And I think for me, going into a dating relationship and practicing your faith is that when you pick someone to date, you want them to be able to help you and push you in your faith. So if you find yourself growing in your faith and getting closer to God, then you can probably test that you're probably in the right thing. And I think when you're in a dating relationship and you maybe find yourself falling away from Jesus or falling away from God and not really where you're supposed to be in life, or feeling maybe unfulfilled or not at peace in your soul, then that's probably something where you're not practicing your faith, or that you're not really with the right person. So I think, going into those dating relationships, you want to practice your faith by growing with your partner. And I mean, that's one of the best things about, I'm obviously not married, but when I think about marriage is that you get to, spend every day chasing Jesus together. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things, right? So dating should be that same thing, and it should be the practice, and it should be the trial of saying, okay, are me and my girlfriend seeking Jesus together? And if we are, then man, this could be the right thing, and marriage is going to be hopefully even better of us pursuing Jesus for the rest of our lives. So I think the dating relationship and practicing your faith in that is the trial of wanting to test if that person is going to help you in your faith, and if you're going to help them in their faith too. I mean, I got a great answer for this one, I think. I mean, as a hockey player, you shoot on a goalie, right?
Correct!
And if I stopped the first time I shot the puck, I wouldn't be much of a hockey player. So you got to keep shooting your shot no matter what.
Keep shooting. Shoot, my guy.
No, but in all seriousness, I think you need to really pray about it, and to see if that person is really someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. If it's just a crush, if it's someone that you think, man, they check all my boxes, there's someone that I really want to spend my life with, then maybe it's something that you have to just bide your time and wait for the right opportunity. Or other times it's, I have to, pick up my pride and move on and look somewhere else. But I think you really need to kind of talk to God about that one and let Him kind of direct you in the way that you should go. But maybe someone else has better advice than me.
Yeah, I would say just two quick things. I think the first thing, as a friend supporting someone in that situation, I think just be with them, just be a good friend to them, hang out with them, play some video games, or just go out to grab something to eat. So I think that's one way that you could advise them, is just being with them. And then I think for your friend in that situation, I think also something important that I think both Betty and Todd have touched on is if the girl has shut you down, then you need to be respectful of her saying no to you. It doesn't mean you stop pursuing girls in general, but maybe it is maybe you do need to give some space to that person. And I think that's just I would want the same thing, and I think everybody would want the same thing, that if you said no to somebody, that that you'd stop making advances or just keep it in the friend zone. So yeah.
First of all, I'll say these are big topics anyway, so we'll miss a lot. You said all good things, and I appreciate this question because it does kind of curb against the ability to get what I want. And one of the things two things, just briefly, would be a caring attitude towards my future wife. Yeah, women are just wired differently, and I think being caring and attentive to their needs, and that also means cherishing my future wife well and expressing love for her, and then also I think leading. I know it's a broad term and probably packs a lot of baggage for people, but leading her well, spiritually and just in life, kind of not being everything, called to be a man, but not called to be her savior. Being able to lead well and draw her near Christ, as well as just be kind of a bouncing board for different things in life, and allowing her to trust me as well, and making those.
Yeah, Betty, I think this is such a good question, because I think, like what you said, we always in society think about what other people can bring to us, and we don't often think about what we can bring to others. And I would advise a lot of people maybe not to even get into a dating or even especially a marriage relationship if you haven't thought about what you can bring in and how you can make your partner better in any way. So I think when I think about this question for myself, is what I can bring to my future wife would be someone that's safe and secure, and that doesn't only mean protecting her, but also protecting her heart, protecting her mind, and her spirit, and being someone that she feels safe, that won't cheat, or someone that isn't gonna be looking elsewhere or for something better. And I think as a single guy, I'd never really had too much of a problem talking to girls, and I might have been called a flirt once or twice as a single guy, but going into a marriage relationship that's the last thing that I want especially my wife to feel right. So that's something that I try to be very cognizant of in a dating relationship, but also into marriage, is that she feels respected, loved, and that there's no one more important in the human world than her, that she's never going to have to worry about another girl or something else kind of in the way of that. And so I would say safety and security. Not only will I protect her from harm from outside sources, but also from myself in a way too, and make sure that she feels loved and cared for, and like she's the most important girl in the world.